Welcome back, boys. We got the week 8 recap coming right at you. We have a very high scoring fantasy weekend. Hope everyone had a happy Halloween. Nick, good to see you again. How are things going over there?
These are pretty good. Had a good Halloween. Had a good time out with the boys and everything. Saturday could have been a little bit better. Sunday could have been a little bit better in terms of football, but good weekend all around. How about yourself? You have a good weekend?
Yeah, pretty good. Can't complain too much.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's not keep the people waiting. Let's get right into it. First game we got up this week, we had Francy Feast getting a back-to-back Kiffin Award appearance after what looked like a very rough start this season. They come out with a hot 177-142 victory over PC Principal. They get back to 500.
Yeah, huge shout out Francy Feast here, back-to-back Kiffin Awards, as they're really starting to climb out and get themselves back to 500. Huge game here against PC Principal. I'll start with Kyler Murray, who put together a pretty solid fantasy performance considering there was a new Call of Duty out. 2 interceptions, that's probably the Call of Duty. But 30 points nonetheless, pretty solid day from Kyler Murray. The big story here, though, is the king himself, King Derrick Henry. We saw Alvin Kamara put up the 41 points. I believe they had the early window in that game, but Derrick Henry just coming through, and his annual feast against Houston happens every year. 40 points of his own to keep pace with Kamara was huge for Francy Feast here. We also have Mike Evans, Tyler Lockett, and Dallas Goedert all having good days from the pass catching group from Francy Feast. Also wanted to shout out Ramondre Stevenson, who's continuing on his pretty solid tear right now of 20-point performances throughout the past couple of weeks. And also the Dallas Cowboys defense showing up again. You're playing the Chicago Bears, might as well score some points. 20 points for their own. As again, they put up another 170-point performance, second straight Kiffin week. Francy Feast might be a team people need to start looking out for a little bit more.
All right, on the flip side here, PC Principal, they dropped their chance to get back to 500 after a really rocky start, but they had won 3 of their last 4 coming into this one. They just ultimately ran into a wall in the Francy Feast. The 2 long-standing members of this team, Kamara and Tyreek Hill, would come to play. Kamara gave him 41 points of his own, and Tyreek with 32. However, there's just a few too many mediocre performances for them in between. And then they had 4 Bengals players on Monday Night Football going up, they had about 70 points to go, I think, to get the win. And if anyone watched that game, they know that probably just didn't happen because the Bengals just got absolutely killed last night. So they'd fall short. They fall 3-5. This team really can't afford too many more losses. See if they're able to get back to that little hot streak they had running there. All right, our second game up, we had the Cleveland Steamers coming in and taking back first place for themselves with a big victory over FaZe 145-97. Nick, tell us how your boys did it this week.
Yeah, first we want to shout out FaZe here, another fellow 6-2 team. We really needed this win considering they took the first game against us. It doesn't really look like it based on the score here, but they got a really solid squad and just kind of ran into one of those horrendous weeks that happen every once in a while. But getting back to Cleveland Steamers here, big point of emphasis this week was run the damn ball. And let me tell you, this boy Nicholas Chubb, hell yeah, 100 yards, 2 of them things, 26 points, and the unsung hero of the week, Tony Pollard. All right, again, we just talked about it. You're playing the Bears. Let's put up some points. He was able to get the starting gig this week with Ezekiel Elliott tending to a minor MCL sprain, and he absolutely showed out this week. 3 touchdowns, 130 yards, huge performance. So that was huge for us this week. We wanted to run the ball, and we got 2 great performances out of our running backs. Couldn't ask for much more. Also want to shout out Daniel Jones. It might not look like it based on the score, 11 points. Who gets a shout out on 11 points as a quarterback? Daniel fucking Jones does. You want to know why? Because the last 2 years, when somebody's filled in for Patrick Mahomes on his bye week, we've had a score of -6 and 2. So double digits. Thank you, Daniel Jones. Also, want to shout out Jets defense as they were able to put up 20 points, even with Zach Wilson selling the whole goddamn game. And finally, I got to do it. Shout out to BA. All right. BA's been an absolute hoss this year, man. He's been putting up points. He's been doing the dirty work. He's doing everything that we ask out of him. He's quietly wide receiver 13 right now. So shout out BA and shout out the team this week for coming ready to play against FaZe Kev.
Yeah, on the flip side here, FaZe Kev came in this one looking on to hold on to their first place status, and they were unable to do so. They only have 2 losses on the year so far, but both got them the Limp Awards. So it seems that when this team fails, they fall flat on their face. Josh Allen finally had his bad game. However, it did take him until week 7 to have it, so I don't expect them to be too worried about this long term. And then the big problem for this team this week was only 3.5 out of Robinson and a major usage step back. Hopefully that doesn't continue to be the trend for him. This is the lowest amount of touches he's had since he came back from injury. And then the other low point of the team this week was the Dolphins defense only getting 5 against the freaking Leons. I mean, this is like, not a good team. I feel like you should be able to force some turnovers off Goff or something. But, yeah, other than that, no one was too bad, but they just didn't have enough top-end firepower to overcome those deficits. They logged themselves another Limp Award, and they do lose first place to Cleveland Steamers. They did win the matchup earlier in the season, so it is 1-1 between these two teams. It will come down to points. The FaZe Kev is currently about 60 back. All right, our third game up of the week, we had Glizz Mafia taking it to Pams, taking their picks and the dub, 164 to 156. And the big star for Glizz Mafia this week was really all the Eagles players, but mostly AJ Brown, 3 touchdowns and 156 yards, 40 points on only 6 receptions. That is what you would call efficient. And then the other Eagles players, Sanders with 15, and I'm on the bench. And Eagles defense with 23 would also help him get the victory. Tom Brady also looked good in this one, scoring 20 of his own. And yeah, pretty much this team was just consistent. Josh Jacobs was their lowest scorer with 7. Everyone else in double digits. When you have consistency like that, you're going to rack up big numbers, and they did this week, and it was enough to get them the victory.
Yeah, for Pams, not a terrible performance here, getting the Lions Award. 156 points most weeks, most times that's going to get you a victory. Just happened to go up against a team who had a little bit more juice this week in Glizz Mafia. It was really good to see Lamar Jackson kind of get back on track after a couple, less than average games from him, getting just around 30 points. Ken Walker, the person who all the picks were traded for, not the greatest game, only 50 yards, was able to sneak in for a touchdown. But you're looking for a little bit more going against the former team, especially with all the picks that were given up to acquire him. So hoping that he can get back on track here moving forward. Dalvin Cook, though, did look very, very good. 100 yards, touchdown, 26 points. Very great from him. Cooper Kupp, always walking around 20 points. Just doing his thing, but he did end up getting a little hurt with the ankle at the end of the game. So, hoping for a speedy recovery from Cooper Kupp, as we all just love watching him out on the football field with Matthew Stafford and the Rams. So hoping for a speedy recovery for him. Jalen Waddle also really produced this week, 2 touchdowns, 100 yards for the Pams. And the big kicker here is by the kicker himself. The guy that Lemp went out and get this, the Pams and how they are with their kickers. They're always paying the kickers the most. They're always spending the most draft capital on the kickers. They're going out and trying to acquire the best kicking unit in the entire league. Goose egg this week. And that is the reason they lost this game. So they're going to need to get the special teams figured out for a franchise that's prides themselves on their special teams. But they're going to need to get that figured out in the coming weeks if they want to continue this trend of winning and leading their division here.
They do to actually get in the field goal range as well. That is a prerequisite.
Yeah, but I just, it's the Can Pams.
All right. Moving on to our fourth game here. We had Texas size 10-4s. We get back to 500, improving to 4-4 with 146 to 113 victory over Wallace Pluto 84. They fall back to 4-4 as well. Geno Smith continues to look good. We continue to be happy with his production since we've gotten him. Big spotlight this week came from Christian McCaffrey, 40 points of his own, including not just a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown, but also a passing touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, as we talked about earlier. Really just beautiful to see. Really see him look like his past self on this new 49ers team. And then we really needed that big performance too, because the middle of our lineup struggled this week, as you can see. Big ouchie was Devontae Adams, only getting 0.7 points. I mean, they try to give him the ball. You see as a carry there, lost a yard. The Raiders' offense is just completely broken right now. I can't sit Devontae because he's, Devontae, so we just got to sit and pray and hope that we get improvement. But, man, it is messy over there. Beyond that, we had Devontae Foreman making his Texas size 10-4 debut. He had 3 TDs of his own, 35 points. We also really needed that with the middle of our lineup struggling. And then special teams came in nicely for us as well. And we got a quiet win this week. We said last week that we want to start getting quiet wins all the way to the championship. So this week, mission accomplished.
Yeah, for Wallace Pluto here, just this team loves to sit around 500. This is their sweet spot. They love this.
Yep.
To start out here, Stat Prescott, back in action, baby. Talked about it a little already. You're playing the Chicago Bears, put up stats. 30 points of his own. As he 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. It was great to see Dak and the Dallas offense really kind of find its footing again after, kind of a muddling performance in his first game back from injury. So that was great to see. Also had Barkley and Metcalf were both able to find the end zone here with solid performances of their own, both getting around 50 yards and a touchdown, scoring in the mid-teens, which is pretty solid for them. But they had a couple duds here in the middle of the lineup, starting with Hunter Renfrow, again, just touching on how fucking awful the Raiders were this past week. 1 point, slightly outscoring Devontae Adams, but not by really anything. And also Mark Andrews going down in the Thursday night football game really hurt this team. We are hoping for a speedy recovery for Mark Andrews, as he was injured the week before, tried his best to play in that Thursday night football game, got out there and just wasn't able to finish it out. So hope that he's going to be able to have the extended week this week to get himself healthy. Just because we love watching this man on the football field. He's an absolute terror out there for the other team. But yeah, just really didn't have enough firepower to get over the 140 mark this week. But really looking to try to bounce back. Noah, if you get a win next week, you can lose the following week. So you got that going for you.
All right, there you go. Moving on to our 5th and final game of the week. We had a matchup between the 2 basement dwellers of the league, both coming into this year with high expectations after nice division wins last year, and both have just failed miserably to this point. Sticky Mistakes able to correct the course a little bit with their 158 to 143 victory over the Philly Cheekles.
It has finally happened, people. After 6 straight losses, some of the worst luck that we've seen in fantasy in quite a long time, Sticky Mistakes is back in the win column. First win since week 1, and I can tell you that franchise and that fan base needed this one. All right, Jalen Hurts started out 4 touchdowns against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played incredible, 32 points of his own. Aaron Jones in the Sunday night football game. You talked about it a little bit last week. Packers run the fucking ball. Even when they were down 17. Hey, they finally stuck with it this week. They ran the damn ball. Aaron Jones looked really good. A.J. Dillon looked really good. The run game looked really good. Passing game still looks like shit, but that's a conversation for another day. Receivers here still showing out as they do week in and week out. Justin Jefferson, just under 100 yards. Stephon Diggs, 100 yards and a touchdown. They show up every single week for sticky mistakes. I don't think that's going to change at any point this year. And do we finally have a DJ Moore sighting? 29 points, huge catch at the end of the game. Controversial penalty, maybe, maybe not. Maybe just let the dude just have a little bit of hypeness after he fucking caught an incredible touchdown with, 12 seconds left in the end of the game. But he showed up huge for sticky mistakes this week. They got to love to see that, as they gave him, I believe, a 2-year contract this year in the draft. But really great to see that. This team needed this win this week, so great to see them come out and, really put forth a solid week after a string of bad luck here.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that in my game with Deontay Foreman, but that Panthers-Falcons game was the worst football game of all time. Both teams tried to lose that so many times.
So many times.
Finally, the Falcons won it. But anyways, moving on here. Philly Cheekles, they really had their chances this week. They would just find themselves falling short to an impressive 158. Jared Goff with 23 of his own. Nice to see him bounce back a little bit. Lions have obviously been struggling this year. Jonathan Taylor continues to disappoint for this team. Only 5.6. He would leave the game. He's questionable with an ankle injury currently. But like I said, they did have chances here. ETN came to play. He got 30. Hopkins came to play. He got 33 of his own with only one touchdown, somewhat disproving the narrative that he's a little touchdown dependent. And then we also had Carlos Sutton here, only 2.3. That was obviously a letdown as well. We're not quite able to get it done. They fall just short. This matchup was a lot better than the records of the two teams. So we commend both teams for giving it their best effort. But Philly Cheekles, they find themselves in last now on tiebreakers. And I know their fan base really hoped that they had built a new culture after their division championship last year. We'll see if any of that will stick and they'll fix any of their problems here, or if they'll find themselves in the toilet bowl yet again. And with that, we are moving on to the Week 9 schedule. First matchup, we have Texas has 10-4s. We will be looking to cash on this great luck that everyone has had facing sticky mistakes this year. Second matchup, we got Pams looking to hold their division lead. They slipped it up a little bit last week, but it's still there for the time being. They're taking on PC Principal. Third matchup, Francy FaZe looking to stay red hot. They've won 4 of their last 6, taking on Philly Cheekles looking to get out of last place. Fourth matchup, we had FaZe Kev, 6-2. They need a big bounce back win. Taking on Wallace Pluto, still looking for their first playoff appearance in franchise history. And then fifth and final matchup, we got Tyler and Glizz Mafia. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're taking on first place team, Cleveland Steamers. Nick, how do you look to defend your first place title and keep this hot team off your back?
Well, man, it's going to be tough this week. We got a lot of buys this week from some very important players, including our assistant captain here, Nick Chubb. We're going to be a little flaccid this week, so we're going to need some people to step up. We got to get back stiff when we're going up against Glizz Mafia, so we're going to need some new people to step up. And yeah, we're going to have to put forth a great game because they're pretty hot right now. So we know that we're going to have to come ready to play, and somebody's going to need to step up this week.
All right, and then we're going to start taking quick looks at the standings here as we get to the end of the regular season. We only got 5 games left. So in the South Division, we currently have Cleveland Steamers 6-2. They hold a tiebreaker over FaZe Kev on points as they're 1-1 against each other. And then we got Wallace Pluto at 4-4 and Francy FaZe 4-4. Both of them are outside the wild card at the moment. And then Philly Cheekles at 2-6 at the bottom. And then over in the North, Pams currently lead the way at 5-3. And then Texas size 10-4s. We currently hold the last playoff spot at 4-4. And then Glizz Mafia also 4-4. PC Principal 3-5 and Sticky Mistakes 2-6 to round it out. That'll do it for us this week. Nick, any final thoughts before we get off here?
Nothing from me.
All right, boys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Best of luck this weekend. We'll see you later.